fucking love young.
33-year-old man shares his experiences on why he loves younger women. Typically very malleable, extremely cooperative, and give you grace. Oh, okay.
Women.
Slayer.
Between 21 and 25.
21.
21 and 20.
You're 33.
I'm 33 years old. It's been the best fucking experience.
I think I know why.
The best experience. Like, these women typically very malleable, right?
I really wouldn't describe you malleable. I mean, that's just weird. Like, you're looking for a woman that's malleable that you... I mean, people are just going to hear, like, yeah, somebody that you can manipulate. It's just not... that kind of makes you a creep.
Very cooperative. Extremely cooperative, right?
Kevin Samuels Jr.
Excited.
That video has already been rightfully lambasted, along with his predatory behavior, how lightheartedly he shared it, and how funny the people in his company seemed to view it. But I want to contribute from the opposite end. Young women, please take his word for it. Please understand these older men, may it be seniors in high school pursuing freshmen or the 35-year-olds pursuing the freshly 21. Please understand.
So I'm just going to, like, a real big thing. I don't think that a senior pursuing somebody that's okay, listen, hot take. A senior pursuing a freshman, I don't think is anywhere near the same as a 35-year-old pursuing a 21-year-old. Okay, first of all, they're both legal, whatever. Like, there's in most states, this is Romeo and Juliet law. I will say, to give the benefit of that to the 18-year-old pursuing the 14-year-old, if you're both in high school, you're both in a somewhat similar place in life, even though the 18-year-old is obviously older and more mature and, like, should know better. They're still in the same spot in life. They're still both in high school. Whereas a 35-year-old is, like, a much older, should be much more mature, much more established than, like, the 21-year-old. I'd say, like, an 18 and a 14-year-old. I mean, you should, like, if you're 14, don't date an 18-year-old. And if you're an 18-year-old, grow up some fucking sense and don't date a 14-year-old. Obviously. I'm just saying, I think that 35 and 21 are, like, profoundly different. They're in, like, an 18 and a 14-year-old are in a more similar phase in their life than a 35 and a 21-year-old. That's the point that I'm trying to make. But either way, the outcome is, like, yeah, just try to stay away from people that are that young, for sure. And stay away from people that are that old, too. You know, do your best to try to stay away from, you know, each other, really. But yeah, I still think it's inappropriate. So yeah.
They aren't interested because you are mature for your age. They aren't interested because you shockingly have so much in common. They aren't interested because you are nicer or softer than older women. They are preying on you. And I know it sucks to hear that because being called prey in this context, or in general, feels like being called stupid to your face. But your mental development and life experience...
Yeah, but it sounded true. You are kind of stupid. I'm not even trying to be an asshole, but, like, yeah... That's probably a fact. I don't think all, like, older guys that talk to, like, younger girls are like this. Like, I don't think every single one of them has, like, this deep-seated methodical, like, oh, I really want to take advantage of you in this capacity. I think that there are probably people in their 30s that talk to, like, 20-year-olds because maybe they just, I don't know. They just think that they're fun because they're younger. Maybe they haven't been beaten down by life. I also don't think it's always that deep. But if you have somebody saying, I really like young girls because they're malleable, like, then that's a red flag. That's definitely a red flag.
Is not your fault. Hard to have life experience when you haven't had a lot of life. Anyway, so don't be prey. Don't fall for it. Don't entertain men who are far too old to be genuinely interested in you for the right reasons. In general, don't be malleable or extremely cooperative. Don't give undue grace. Have boundaries.
I wonder if a factor for that guy is that, like, he's rich too, and that's why people are malleable with him or more willing to give him grace or whatever.
And keep them. Notice red flags and cut him off. Be like the older women that men like him are afraid of because they've been through the nonsense and know how to see through it and won't put up with it. The same women trying to protect you by giving you this advice. And for those who consciously choose to be dense, there's obviously a difference between having an appropriate mutual relationship where the two parties are cooperative and learn from each other, and a relationship with a dangerous power imbalance where the weaker one is constantly expected to concede or having that power imbalance used.
I will say one thing about this video that I do like is that this person, I think we're actually mutuals. I've talked to her in DMs a little bit. I thought she was a robot at first. But it's like education for the younger person, which I feel like people have, like, they'll shit and fart about. They'll be like, oh my, like, in this situation, she's like, hey, young people, try to be more careful and protect yourself the best way you can. It's the same thing as trying to teach somebody to look both ways before crossing the street. You know, like, yeah, you shouldn't have to look both ways before you cross a crosswalk on a red light, but at the same time, you need to protect yourself. But people will always say like, oh, you're just victim blaming kind of a thing. So it's nice to have that like level of education directed towards like, you know, I guess you'd say the person with the weaker power imbalance, you know.
Against them. I'm not telling people in standard relationships to not be cooperative with one another. This goes for women as well, by the way, or young boys, I should say. Women don't brag on the internet as often about taking advantage or preying on young men, so there is less content to stitch pertaining to the matter. But we will absolutely be talking about the way older women take advantage of young boys and get away with it, or at least aren't held accountable as aggressively for it because of the way society views boys and men. But that's a longer conversation, so we'll get there another day. And lastly, as I always get comments like this whenever I make content of this nature, this isn't victim blaming. Giving people the tools and knowledge to arm themselves
see? I just said that. Didn't I say that? The victim blaming thing? Did I say that? See?
That's quite dangerous. Is much different than telling them that the harm that may befall them is their fault. In fact, if we taught more people about the dangers of these types of dynamics from both ends, instead of just expecting the bad guy in the scenario to stop being the bad guy, which they rarely do, perhaps more people would know that that type of relationship dynamic is dangerous and would avoid it altogether.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and another special shout out to all my Patreon and Twitch subs. If you'd like to support this channel further than you already have by just watching the video alone, go down to the links below where you can sub on my Patreon, which will allow you to get your name on this beautiful black wall. Or you can go to the Twitch page and you can actually use a free Amazon Prime sub, if you have Amazon Prime, to subscribe. Thank you very much, guys. Take care.